Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into Dr. Carol S. Dweck's really influential book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success.
Yeah, it's a big one. Our mission, I guess, is to unpack how this simple belief about ourselves can, as she puts it, permeate every part of your life.
Exactly. How it shapes who we are and what we think we can achieve.
So Dweck basically identifies two fundamental ways people think about their own abilities. What are they?
Right, so first up is the fixed mindset. This is the belief that your qualities, things like intelligence, personality, talent, they're just, well, carved in stone.
Like you've got a certain amount and that's it.
Yeah. And if you think that way, Breck says it creates this constant urgency to prove yourself over and over again because you feel like your worth is on the line.
Okay, so what's the alternative then?
That's the growth mindset.
Yeah.
Here, the idea is that your basic qualities are things you can actually cultivate, through your effort, through learning, trying different strategies.
So it's not about proving, it's about improving.
Precisely. The goal shifts from validation to development. And this whole idea, it apparently kicked off for Dweck when she was watching kids.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, specifically a 10-year-old facing some really tough puzzles. Most kids might get frustrated, maybe give up.
Makes sense.
But this one kid, he apparently rubbed his hands together like really eager and actually said, I love a challenge.
Wow, okay.
He didn't see the difficulty as meaning he was failing. For him, it wasn't a verdict, it was fun, an opportunity to learn something.
So he was already operating from that growth perspective. That intelligence isn't fixed.
Right. And this idea that intelligence isn't fixed, it actually has deeper roots, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's kind of ironic. But Alfred Binet, the guy who invented the IQ test.
The very measure we often think of as showing fixed intelligence.
Exactly. Binet himself strongly argued against that interpretation. He created the test to find kids who needed different kinds of schooling, new educational approaches.
Not to label them permanently.
No, he hated what he called brutal pessimism. He really believed that, quote, education and practice could bring about fundamental changes in intelligence.
That's fascinating. So the inventor of the tool saw potential for growth all along, which makes you wonder why we still get so hung up on setbacks.
Right. Let's bring it to a real-life scenario Dweck uses. Imagine a pretty bad day. You get a C+ on a midterm you studied for. Then you find a parking ticket on your car.
Sounds rough.
Yeah, and maybe your friend cancels plans last minute. How does each mindset handle that kind of day?
Well, with the fixed mindset, that string of events can feel like total, utter failure and paralysis.
It confirms their worst fears.
Yeah.
Like, see, I am dumb, lucky, and likable.
Exactly. The reaction might be to just, hide, stay in bed, maybe get drunk or lash out. Failure feels like a definition of who they are.
But the growth mindset reaction is different.
Totally. Same bad day, but the reaction is more like, okay, assess and act, right? I need to study differently for the next test, or it's just one grade, I've got the rest of the semester.
So failure isn't you. It's information, a problem to solve.
Yeah, it's something to be dealt with, learned from, not a final judgment.
And this difference, it fundamentally changes what success even means to people.
How so?
For the fixed mindset, success often means immediate perfection. It's about being perfect right now.
Like getting things easily.
Yeah, and Dweck quotes someone saying success is when something is easy for me, but other people can't do it. It's about feeling superior, validated now.
Okay, so if that's the fixed view, what does success look like for the growth mindset? It's clearly not about coasting.
No, it's about striving, about stretching yourself. They define success more like when it's really hard and I try really hard and I can do something I couldn't do before.
So the feeling of progress is the success.
The expansion itself is the reward, not just proving the talent you already think you have.
And this has huge implications, especially when you think about leadership.
Oh, definitely. Dweck warns about the fixed mindset creating non-learners at the top. She uses Leah Kakanka as an example.
The former Chrysler CEO.
Yeah. She argues he got caught up in needing to appear infallible, so he surrounded himself with worshipers and pushed away critics.
So he stopped learning.
Essentially, yeah. He quickly lost touch with where his field was going because he couldn't admit needing to learn or adapt.
That sounds dangerous at that level.
Hugely. Compare that to someone like Darwin Smith, who led Kimberly-Clark through a major transformation. He had this deep humility.
What was his approach?
He famously said, I never stopped trying to be qualified for the job.
Yeah.
Even as CEO. That's pure growth mindset, always learning, always developing.
So it really boils down to a fundamental choice Dweck puts before you, the listener.
Right. Do you spend your energy trying to prove you're smart, talented, whatever?
Or do you focus your energy on developing those abilities, stretching yourself, learning from setbacks?
And it's easy to let one moment define us, isn't it? Like Benet worried about. Remember his point. A single point in time does not show trends, improvement, lack of effort, or mathematical ability.
That's a powerful reminder. So the question for you is, how often do you let a single test result, one piece of criticism, or one failure define your whole potential for the future?
Because ultimately, Dweck argues that choice, how you interpret those moments, is always yours to make.
By the way, if you'd like to dive deeper and really make this book part of your journey, I left a safe link below where you can get your physical copy. Having it in your hands makes all the difference.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into some sources that get right to the heart of achievement. We're talking talent, effort, and specifically this idea of the fixed versus the growth mindset.
Yeah, it's a really foundational concept.
And our mission really is to unpack why our culture often seems to, well, almost disdain effort. Why is trying hard sometimes seen as a bad look? And how does that hold people back?
It's key to get the definitions clear first, I think. So the fixed mindset, that's the belief that your abilities, your talent, it's basically set in stone. You either have it or you don't.
Right, it's innate.
Exactly. Whereas the growth mindset says, no, ability can be developed. It's built through dedication, through hard work, through learning. Effort is what sparks it.
And it's fascinating how that fixed view connects to a bias in society, isn't it? Like
Right.
Malcolm Gladwell talked about how we love the idea of the natural, effortless achievement.
We do. We really value that.
Yeah.
And the sources show this creates some serious pressure. There's that Duke University report.
Oh, yeah, the one about female undergrads.
That's the one. Feeling they needed perfect scholarship, but without, looking like they tried too hard. The trying itself could signal you weren't actually brilliant enough.
Which sounds so backwards when you say it out loud. Effort should be good, right? So why, in this fixed mindset view, is effort such a threat?
Well, think about it. If you believe you're naturally gifted, a genius, then having to try hard, it implies you might not be. It suggests a lack.
Yeah.
Effort reduces your perceived status.
Okay.
And if you put in maximum effort, like really go all out, and you still fail, then you've got no excuses left. It confirms the fear.
That fear really comes through in the story of Nadja Salerno Sonnenberg, the violinist. A prodigy at Juilliard, apparently. But she wouldn't fix some basic technical issues, these awful habits.
Classic fixed mindset trap. She was terrified that if she really tried to change her technique and it didn't work, or wasn't good enough.
It would mean she wasn't truly talented after all.
Exactly. She actually said nothing is harder than saying, I gave it my all and it wasn't good enough. That's really laying yourself bare, isn't it? No safety net.
Yeah. And it comes from buying into that myth of the lone genius, the instant success. But even someone like Thomas Edison, the sources remind us he wasn't just tinkering alone.
Not at all. That light bulb moment we picture, it was the result of intense collaborative effort. He had a whole research lab, corporate funded, with like 30 assistants, scientists working nonstop.
So even for historical geniuses, it was about applied, directed effort, not just spontaneous brilliance.
Absolutely. Grit and teamwork.
Okay, so if the fixed mindset sees effort as this big risk exposing flaws,
Right.
Let's pivot. What happens when you fully embrace effort, the growth mindset, the power of grit?
Yeah, this is where effort gets, admired. The story of Seabiscuit is such a great example.
For racehorse.
Right. But not just the horse, who was seen as kind of broken down. It was the whole team, the jockey, the owner, the trainer. They were all underdogs.
Misfits, almost.
Yeah. And they became champions through sheer dogged determination. It shows potential isn't fixed. It can be transformed by effort.
And there's another layer there, too, with the author Laura Hillenbrand.
Oh, that's right. She wrote this amazing book while battling severe chronic fatigue syndrome. The horse's story of perseverance actually inspired her perseverance. Her own effort is baked into the book's success.
A testament to her own grit. Okay, but let me push back slightly. Does focusing so much on effort kind of diminish real, natural talent? What about the Michael Jordans or the Picassos?
That's a fair question. It doesn't erase starting points. Some people clearly have natural aptitudes, but the growth mindset is crucial for sustaining success and reaching full potential, even for the super talented.
How so?
Well, when prodigies hit a wall or face a real challenge, which they eventually do, the fixed mindset makes them want to quit to protect that natural image. The growth mindset sees the setback as, okay, here's the next thing I need to work on and learn from. It fuels continued development.
Got it. And this affects confidence too, right?
Yeah.
That there was that study, Martocchio.
Joseph Martocchio, yeah. Computer training study. Really interesting findings. The employees who went in with a fixed mindset, they actually lost confidence as they learned and inevitably made mistakes.
Because the mistakes felt like proof they weren't smart enough.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But the growth mindset group, they gained confidence. They saw mistakes as just part of learning, part of getting better. Their confidence grew with the effort and the learning curve.
So, wrapping this up, it seems the fixed mindset leads you to see failure as like a final judgment, and effort is just a sign you weren't good enough to begin with.
Exactly. Whereas the growth mindset values the process, the struggle, the learning itself. That's where the real potential gets unlocked.
It really presents a choice then, doesn't it? How you want to approach challenges, how you want to look back.
It does. Billie Jean King put it so well. She talked about looking back on life.
You can either polish your unused endowments like trophies, thinking, oh, I could have been great if only.
Right. Preserving the idea of potential. Or you can look back and say, honestly, I gave my all for the things I valued.
So the question for you listening is, which path do you want? What do you want to be able to say when you look back? Think about something you're maybe avoiding trying right now because you might have to try really hard. You know how it goes. We see champions like Michael Jordan hitting a game winner and we just think, well, they're naturals.
Yeah, it's the easy story, right? That greatness is just inevitable. Born that way.
But when you actually look into it, the sources really challenge that idea.
Absolutely. Take Jordan. I mean, everyone thinks of him now as the undisputed Jake. But remember, he was drafted third.
Third, right. Not exactly a sure thing from day one. He was seen as having potential, yeah, but not
legendary status right out of the gate, no.
So what was the shift? Well, it seems like pure discipline, that famous story about him getting cut from varsity.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that just lit a fire under him. His old coach called him a genius who constantly wants to upgrade his genius.
That's it. It highlights all that practice,
Right.
focusing hard on the stuff he wasn't good at initially, like his defense, his ball handling.
So our mission today is really to dig into these sources we've gathered. We want to challenge that whole myth of effortless talent.
Exactly. We're looking at how discipline, how mindset actually builds greatness, whether you're on the court, the track, or running a company.
Okay, so if Jordan's a prime example of that intentional work ethic,
Yeah.
where else do the sources show this? How does it counter the natural idea in sports?
Well, let's look at Babe Ruth. The image we have is this larger-than-life guy, maybe undisciplined, powered by hot dogs.
Ah, right, the ultimate natural.
But the sources say, initially, he had power, sure, but he was actually pretty inconsistent as a hitter.
Really, that's hard to picture. The guy who seemed all about excess, he had discipline too. What did he do?
Okay, so after a really rough season in 1925, he completely turned things around, got serious about off-season gym work.
Okay.
And maybe crucially, he got really into daily batting practice, like loved it, which apparently the older players kind of resented.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Ty Cobb, of all people, pointed out that starting as a pitcher actually helped Ruth. It let him experiment at the plate without the same pressure.
Ah, so he had space to develop that massive swing control over time. It wasn't just there.
Exactly. It was developed, not just innate.
And you see that same kind of dedication overcoming huge physical hurdles too, right? Like Wilma Rudolph.
Oh, yeah. Born premature, polio, paralyzed leg until she was 12.
Incredible. Or Jackie Joyner-Kersee. Started track, finished last, battled asthma constantly.
These stories just demolish the idea that you
Yeah.
need perfect physical gifts to start. Joyner-Kersee herself said it wasn't about heredity, it was all those hours of work.
She put in the time.
Totally. Even winning her last Olympic medal while fighting a serious hamstring injury. It shows sheer will, skills built through therapy, practice, mindset winning out.
Which brings us neatly to character. The sources frame it as your ability to dig deep when things get tough, and that grows from mindset.
Right. Look at the contrast. Remember the 2003 AL playoffs? Pedro Martinez, dazzling pitcher, but maybe, as one source put it, over-pampered.
Okay.
So when he starts losing his lead, total fixed mindset meltdown. Couldn't handle it. Textbook failure to tolerate frustration. Threw a tantrum on the mound, hit a batter, Karim Garcia, then threatened Jorge Posada, and then physically threw the Yankees coach, Don Zimmer.
Wow. Okay, so he lost it. And the game.
Because his character cracked under pressure. It wasn't just physical failure.
So contrast that with, say, Pete Sampras. Our sources mention him losing badly in a big match.
Yeah, but instead of melting down, He consciously looked for a frame of reference. Remember past comebacks, found a way to reset.
And he turned it around.
Won the second set, won the match, used his mindset. And think about the Red Sox. The very next year after that Martinez incident,
The comeback kids.
they built this whole hardworking team-first identity, overcame that huge 3-0 deficit to win the World Series. It showed character can be learned, right?
That's a powerful example. And this isn't just sports, is it? The sources draw a direct line to business.
Definitely. Companies like Enron got completely hung up on this talent mindset, believed they just needed naturals.
And that fixed mindset, it was toxic.
Poisoned the well. Executives started lying about performance to protect their own image. The company couldn't face reality, couldn't self-correct. Image was everything.
Which led straight to disaster.
Yeah. Compare that to Alan Wurtzel at Circuit City, described as a plow horse, not flashy. Took a company near bankruptcy right to the top.
How did his mindset show up?
Growth mindset leadership. He played the prosecutor in meetings, always asking why, pushing for the unvarnished truth.
To get that brutally honest picture.
Exactly. So the pattern is clear, isn't it?
Yep.
Sports, business. Lasting success isn't about fixed talent. It's the mindset for constant improvement, handling setbacks, learning.
So wrapping this up for you listening, thing about Mia Hamm, she famously said she didn't think she was the greatest player.
Right, and then she added, and because of that, someday I just might be.
So the question for you is, what belief about your own natural talent might be holding you back? What focused effort could you make to become, the most complete player in whatever field you're in? Welcome. Today we're doing a deep dive into mindset, fixed versus growth.
Yeah, and specifically how it shapes, everything from huge corporate turnarounds to how you handle personal setbacks.
Right. I've got sources looking at business giants like Jack Welch, but also at the really tough stuff like dealing with rejection.
And our mission, really, is to pin down those specific choices, those behaviors that separate truly impactful, growth-minded leaders from the ones who maybe are just looking for validation.
Okay, let's start big then. Jack Welch at GD. The numbers are staggering, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. He takes over in 1980. GE's valued around, $14 billion? 20 years on, it's nudging $500 billion, close to $95 billion.
Incredible leap. And you're saying the root driver wasn't just like clever deals, but his mindset.
That's what the sources argue, yeah. It was a conscious shift in Welch himself, a transformation.
A nearly $500 billion valuation linked to humility. That feels a bit surprising, given his, neutron jack reputation.
Well, maybe operational humility is a better term. It wasn't about being meek. It was about ditching the me ego that often comes with a fixed mindset.
Okay, so how did he do that? How did he move to the we and us of growth?
He seemed to actively work against his own ego. I mean, look at his autobiography, Dedication. He actually says he hates using I because, and this is a quote, nearly everything I've done has been accomplished with other people.
So he recognized that tendency in himself, the fixed mindset pull, and had to fight it.
Seems like it. He had some pretty harsh wake-up calls along the way.
Like what?
Well, early in his career, there was this incident, a chemical explosion, I think. It ruined his suit, his brand new convertible. He said it brought me back to reality, a grounding moment.
Okay.
And later, much later, the whole Kidder-Peabody acquisition mess, that taught him about the razor's edge between self-confidence and hubris, real-world lessons keeping the ego in check.
And that connects to him visiting the factories, right?
Yeah.
Talking to people on the assembly line.
Exactly. Steve Bennett noted that. Welch never stopped doing that. It's about respecting the knowledge on the front lines, not assuming all the brilliance is at the top. It breaks down that fixed mindset hierarchy.
Which then becomes a corporate strategy, like shutting down that elite GE executive club.
Yeah, turning it into a volunteer force. It's anti-elitism in action. Lou Gerstner did something similar at IBM, didn't he?
He did. Disbanded that super powerful management committee almost immediately. Said it was about stopping internal politics and focusing on actual competence.
Competence over status. That's the growth mindset right there.
And Anne Mulcahy at Xerox. That turnaround was brutal, cutting, 30% of the workforce?
A huge cut, yeah. But the sources paint her as embodying tough but compassionate.
How so? While making those cuts?
Well, even while cutting jobs, she protected raises for the remaining staff, gave people their birthdays off small gestures, maybe, but they signaled she cared. She took the emotional weight, they say, separating the hard business reality from basic human decency.
That combination must be key to preventing, groupthink.
Oh, absolutely. Groupthink thrives when a fixed mindset leader just wants agreement, validation. People get scared to disagree.
Right.
Contrast that with Alfred P. Sloan at GM. Famous story. His top team reaches an agreement, and he suggests postponing the decision. Why? To deliberately give ourselves time to develop disagreement.
Wow. Actively seeking dissent.
Because he knew understanding comes from exploring different views. Growth-minded teams encourage honest disagreement. It's how they learn.
Okay, so if groupthink is like the corporate fear of rejection, let's shift to personal rejection, heartbreak, loss. How does mindset play out there?
It's a stark difference. For someone really stuck in a fixed mindset, the source material suggests the number one goal after rejection is often revenge.
Revenge. Why?
Because their self-worth feels attacked. It's like the other person took my worth with her when she left. The value is external, tied to the relationship, not internal.
So the breakup feels like personal annihilation. That's heavy.
It is. But the growth mindset completely flips that. The focus shifts inward.
To what?
To understanding, forgiving, and, crucially, moving on. The mantra isn't, I'll get you back. It's more like, okay, what can I learn from this? I'd better learn from this.
Like that story about Nicole Contos, the woman left at the altar.
Incredible story, yeah. Stood up, hundreds of guests. Devastating.
But she didn't just crumble.
No. She changed into a black dress, went to her own reception, and danced. Solo. To I Will Survive.
Wow. Talk about resilience.
Right. She chose to define herself by her response, her growth, not by the rejection itself. That's a growth mindset in pure form.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you listening?
I think it's that real leadership, real resilience. It's not about being born brilliant or perfect. It's about a passion for learning, for stretching yourself. It's about growth.
Yeah, not staying fixed.
Yeah.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe a challenge. The sources point out that a lot of us managers or just people in general kind of stop trying to improve once we've learned the basics.
Plateau.
Right. So ask yourself, are you just sort of doing your job or managing your relationships? Or are you actively, intentionally working to become that better leader, that stronger partner, that more resilient person you could be? Something to think about. Okay, so today we're diving deep into something really interesting, this sort of hidden language of success, exploring these really subtle messages we send. As parents, teachers, coaches, that can accidentally lock people into a fixed mindset or, hopefully open the door to a growth mindset.
Fascinating stuff.
And here's the kicker, the paradox, really. Sometimes the praise we think is best, like telling a kid, you're so smart or you're natural, that can actually hurt their motivation, hurt their performance down the line.
It's so counterintuitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's true. The second we praise that innate ability, we're basically signaling that ability is permanent, fixed.
Right.
A fixed mindset says, traits are set in stone. You've either got it or you don't. Whereas a growth mindset, that's the belief that ability is something you develop through effort, strategy, just sticking with it. That's the real key difference.
And that fixed mindset, it creates this tightrope situation. We saw this with that story about the really smart fifth grader's mom.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
He was always getting high scores. Things came easily. But then the moment the work got genuinely hard,
He backed off completely.
Totally reluctant to take risks. He was just terrified that if he failed, if he couldn't grasp something quickly, it meant he wasn't actually smart.
And that fear of shattering the smart identity, it just killed his drive to tackle hard things.
Exactly. That whole pattern, the high achiever who just quits when things get challenging, it really shows why we need to shift our language away from judging identity toward praising the process.
And we see how powerful this is when it's applied not just in, say, homework, but even in discipline, tough situations.
Absolutely. Like Stan Davis's anti-bullying program built on the Alwis work.
Yeah, the results there were incredible.
93% reduction in physical bullying. I mean, that's huge. And the core idea wasn't about punishment or judgment.
No, not at all. It was a complete rejection of judging the student's character as fixed, like you are a bully.
So what did they do instead?
Well, the key was they never judged the person's traits, only the action, the choice they made.
Okay.
They framed it as like an opportunity to learn better skills, guiding them towards that growth mindset. The actual words they used were critical.
Such as?
Things like, I noticed that you have been staying out of fights. You see, specific behavior. That tells me you are working on getting along with people, praising the effort, the process of changing. not nailing them for past behavior.
That makes so much sense. And that same idea applies to handling failure or disappointment too, right? Like with Elizabeth, the young gymnast.
Yes, exactly. The 9-year-old lost her first meet, totally devastated.
Right. And the typical reaction might be, oh, you were robbed, or the judges were unfair, trying to protect her feelings.
Protect the ego, yeah.
Yeah.
But her dad did something different. Difficult, maybe, but really profound from a growth mindset view.
What did he say?
Well, he didn't let her off the hook, but he also didn't attack her character. He just reframed it. Reframed the loss as needing more work. It's fascinating, he told her pretty directly. You haven't really earned it yet.
Ooh, that sounds harsh for a 9-year-old.
It sounds harsh maybe through that fixed lens, but listen to the rest. There were many girls there who've been in gymnastics longer than you and who've worked a lot harder than you.
Okay, so the message wasn't, you're not good enough.
No. The message was, this result isn't about who you are, it's about the work that's needed. It gave her agency, control.
So she didn't just crumble.
Quite the opposite. She apparently spent way more time practicing, focusing on her routines. She realized effort was the missing piece, something she could control, and she did end up succeeding later. Her dad taught her failure is just data, information, not a final judgment.
Wow. And you see this play out in sports all the time, at the highest levels.
Definitely. You've got the fixed mindset side, maybe like Coach Bobby Knight.
Right, the legendary intensity.
His whole goal, the holy grail, was the mistake-free game, which is impossible. Right?
Yeah.
So failure wasn't just a setback, it was intolerable. It reflected badly on him, on the player's fundamental ability in his eyes, led to pretty harsh judgment.
Okay, so that's the fixed approach. What's the contrast?
Well, think about Coach John Wooden at UCLA. A completely different philosophy, centered entirely on process.
Not focused on winning above all else.
Not primarily, no.
Wow.
Or even mistake-free games. His focus was, quote, full preparation and full effort. That was it.
So the outcome wasn't the main thing.
His core question was always, did I make my best effort? If you could honestly say yes,
Then what?
then in his view, you may be outscored, but you will never lose.
Yeah.
Because you controlled what you could control, your preparation and your effort.
And he backed this up, right, with how he treated players.
Absolutely. He was known for giving equal time and attention to all his players, not just the stars, everyone, regardless of where they started, skill-wise. Because he believed, and this is a direct quote, what I couldn't see was what these men had inside. He was looking to develop potential, not just reward the talent that was already obvious.
So it really comes down to the messages we send, constantly.
Every single interaction, yeah. Every word, every action, it sends a message. Either it's, I'm judging your permanent traits, your fixed abilities, or it's, I am genuinely interested in your development, your growth.
And it's not always about what we intend to say, is it? It's about how that message lands, how it's interpreted.
Precisely. We have to be conscious, really intentional about the language we use.
Which brings us to, I guess, the final thought for you listening.
Yeah, something to chew on. When you deal with mistakes or setbacks or disappointment, maybe it's your own, maybe it's someone you're mentoring or parenting.
What happens in that moment?
Does that situation instantly become about judging character? I'm such an idiot, or they just don't have what it takes. Or does it become an opportunity, an occasion for teaching, for learning, for figuring out better strategies and skills for next time? Which path do you take? So today we're looking at the growth mindset, but maybe not in the way you usually hear about it. We're trying to get past the slogans.
Right. We're digging into the research, really, looking at it as a practical framework.
Yeah, like how every single interaction basically is sending one of two messages.
Exactly. Either a fixed mindset message, your traits are permanent, I'm judging you, or a growth one, I'm interested in how you develop.
And our goal here is to figure out how you can shift that focus, maybe internally first, away from just judging everything towards, learning.
That's the core, isn't it? This fundamental split. You've got the fixed mindset,
Right.
which believes talent, intelligence, all that stuff, it's just fixed. You have it or you don't. So every outcome feels like a judgment. I'm a loser, or, I'm great.
And the growth mindset just turns that on its head.
Completely. It's all about development. So if things go wrong, the question isn't, what does this say about me? It's, what can I learn here? What strategy didn't work?
Okay, so let's make this concrete. Where does it show up first? Maybe parenting, teaching.
Right.
Praise seems like a big one.
Oh, huge. And it's counterintuitive, like you said earlier. We think praising intelligence, saying you're so smart, builds confidence.
Yeah, isn't that what you're supposed to do?
Well, the research suggests it actually makes confidence really fragile because now your worth is tied to being smart, something you don't totally control. If you stumble, it's devastating.
So what's the alternative?
It's what they call process praise. Focus on things the person did control. Like
Wow.
the effort they put in, the strategies they tried, the choices they made, maybe their persistence.
Gotcha. So instead of you're brilliant, it's more like, wow, that was tough, but you stuck with it and tried different angles. That's great.
Exactly. And the same logic applies to criticism. It shouldn't be a label like you're careless. It should be about understanding how to fix it. Constructive.
Makes sense for coaches too, right? Not demanding a perfect game.
No, demanding full commitment, maximum effort, believing players can develop. And for teachers, it means truly believing that intelligence isn't fixed. If a student is struggling, the question is why? What strategy are they missing? What don't they understand yet?
Okay, that's the external talk.
Mm-hmm.
But what about that voice inside our own heads, the internal monologue?
Yeah. That's often where the fixed mindset lives loudest, I think.
Right, like you make a mistake and bam, I'm an idiot.
Precisely. Strong labels, positive or negative on everything. This means I'm a good person, or this proves I'm incompetent. It's all judgment.
Whereas the growth voice,
It's more like a coach. It's looking for information. Okay, that didn't work. Why? What can I try next time? How can I improve? It's focused on learning and action.
is there actual like brain science that backs this difference up?
Yeah, there is. Some really interesting work, sometimes called brainology, teaches this idea directly. It uses the metaphor of the brain as a muscle.
A muscle.
That it physically changes and gets stronger when you learn new things, forms new connections, actually grows.
And knowing that makes a difference.
Apparently a big one. They shared this with students who felt kind of, stuck or dumb. The impact was profound. One student literally asked, "You mean I don't have to be dumb?" Just realizing your ability wasn't fixed, it changed everything. Their grades actually jumped.
Wow. That's powerful. But change isn't always instant, right? Those old fixed thoughts probably pop back up, especially during setbacks.
Oh, for sure. Change isn't like flipping a switch. The research says it's more like new beliefs taking their place alongside the old ones. You still feel the disappointment or fear.
So how do you push through? Like that example of the grad school applicant who got rejected.
Right. She felt awful, naturally. But the growth mindset step wasn't to ignore the feeling. It was to take concrete action despite it.
Which was?
Calling the admissions office, asking specifically, what could I do to make my application stronger for next time? Seeking actionable feedback.
And that actually worked for her, didn't it?
It did. That specific, actionable approach led to her getting in later. And that points to another key idea for making any growth plan stick.
Which is?
Concrete planning. You have to ask yourself, when, where, and how am I going to follow through on this? Visualizing the steps makes it real.
Okay, so you plan, you take action, but then there's keeping it going, maintenance.
Here. Crucial, because improvement isn't permanent if you stop working at it. Like that couple, Marlene and Scott, in the research, they made progress, stopped the bickering.
But then slipped back.
Yeah, because the fixed mindset crept back in, thinking a good relationship shouldn't need this much effort. But growth requires ongoing effort.
So the final step is never really final. You have to keep asking.
What do I need to do now to maintain this, to keep growing? It's a continuous process.
It really comes down to a choice, then, in every situation.
Pretty much. Judgment or learning, fixed view or growth view, like Alex Rodriguez said about competing. You either go one way or the other. The growth mindset gives you the awareness to choose your direction.
So the question for you, listening, is, faced with your next challenge, big or small, which path will you consciously choose?
By the way, if you'd like to dive deeper and really make this book part of your journey, I left a safe link below where you can get your physical copy. Having it in your hands makes all the difference. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this chat. And don't forget to check if you've already subscribed to the channel so you won't miss the next session.
I also really appreciate your company. Share in the comments what caught your attention the most, and get ready because in our next meeting, there's another special book waiting for you. See you then.